ゴジラ
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Monster Report live here on YouTube and on Facebook. Monster Report's a show highlighting those entertaining creatures of film history. I'm, of course, your host, Nick Adam, and I have a very special guest in studio. We'll get to him in just a second, and this is our first guest in studio, kaiju fan. Other than I've had my brother and my son in here, but I've not had a kaiju fan, a kaiju collector like myself in here. So this is a special occasion, and you're here for it. But before we get into this, make sure that you are subscribed to this channel, like all of those great YouTube things, and let me introduce my guest, my good friend, another Hoosier, Mr. Adrian. Adrian, tell us who you are and why you're here today.
I had nothing to do. I'm just kidding.
Nothing else to do?
So I'm Adrian, and obviously I'm a huge Godzilla Kaiju fan. So pretty much not too long ago, I kind of came across Nick here, randomly. I was actually selling the Oda Island -1 figure that he did a review on. And he was like, I'll take the drive to you. And I said, you sure? And I didn't realize it was 2 hours away, but he ended up meeting me, in my hometown, or not my hometown, but where I live. And, so we made the exchange, and then we kept talking. And it was quite funny because my wife and my 2-year-old were running around, and he was wanting to go swim and stuff. So, but yeah. And so then shortly after that, Nick ended up messaging me and giving me the invitation to come here live. And so, yes, I did make the 2-hour drive. So it was definitely worth it. So, yeah.
Awesome. And I'm just kind of showing a wide shot. It's not a great one because my studio is kind of small here, but setting up everything here to be able to have a guest in studio. It's kind of a new thing for me, but I'm hoping it's a trend that I'll keep going with because every once in a while, I kind of like to have that podcast where you're not just over StreamYard bringing them in over that Zoom, like we've all been doing since basically, COVID and things. You remember the days of like Skype? That old thing.
That was a big thing for sure.
Yeah.
And nowadays people use Zoom too as well. So
yeah.
But having somebody physically in the same room or whatever is definitely better than stream. Not to say that the stream's not good, but
yeah, every once in a while.
Definitely a change for sure. So
yeah, every once in a while I like to have somebody in studio and then, show off some collectibles and talk collectibles. Mm-hmm. And I know that, is because of the collections that we got in touch with each other. Yeah. And that Odo Island one, that was kind of fun because I came up with a little skit with my son, Eli, producer Eli, who you've seen on the show, guys. And I was like, we just like to have these really cheesy dad jokes sort of skits that we do. We've got another one coming up for a Godzilla 1972 SH Monster Arts version. So that's going to be a little fun already. I mean, Gigan, that movie has a ton of like scenes that you can bring in and poke fun at and be humorous with. But yeah, it's one that we definitely going to, work on, and that's going to probably happen this week. But again, yeah, so in studio here, we're just going to talk some collections and kind of like, go back. Tell me your kaiju story. Like, where did it begin with you? Was it a movie? Was it the collections? Was it a cartoon? Was it a comic book? What was it that got you into kaiju collecting and Godzilla?
So I figured that would be the number one question. So actually, my mom is the one that actually got me into Godzilla. So growing up as a young kid, I was definitely into like Jurassic Park and stuff. So I love dinosaurs and sci-fi stuff. Also, my grandfather, that's how I really got into the Sci-Fi Channel back when it was actually Sci-Fi Channel.
Yeah, I remember.
He used to watch stuff like Stargate, Farscape, all this stuff. But he also got me into some of the other movies like Aliens and the Predator and stuff. So eventually I got into all that. So I was a big sci-fi kid nerd. And then it wasn't until after that, my mom, I don't even remember, to be honest, how it happened, but she mentioned Godzilla. So my very first film that I ever watched was Millennium Godzilla.
Okay.
And after that, I got addicted. And then, so when I was a younger kid, obviously I never really watched all the films. And I'll be honest, like I've watched all the films up in this last year, but as a kid, I was only really limited to whatever was on. You know, we didn't have DVDs or anything like that. So, but yeah, I got into it, and I never collected any of the figures because I don't think there really were any figures back then that I, you know, as a kid, you know, I don't think I would want one anyways because I'd probably break it. You know, we see how we treated things back when we were kids. I think if that happened to one of my figures, I'd lose my mind. That's why my kids don't get to touch them. They can look, but no touch. So, but yeah, so that's how I got into it. Like I said, just growing up as a sci-fi kid, it's really funny that my mom, of all people, is the one that got me involved. You know, usually it's, you know, some other kid has a toy or something, but my mom, you know, she brought me up on it, and never go back. So
well, it's interesting. You know, I have a similar story with that with my mother. Of course, I discovered Godzilla on television, but when I did get into Godzilla, it was my mother who talked about seeing Ghidorah the three-headed monster in theaters on a double feature with something. I don't remember what the other movie was, but I didn't care because it was like you saw Godzilla on the big screen, you know, for a quarter back in the day, you know, when the movies were, you know, it was the thing you did. I mean, it was, you went to the theater, you saw a double feature, and it was, you know, the A movie was Ghidorah, the B movie was something else that is forgettable, but whatever. It's like, you know, being able to see those films on the big screen when they were new.
Right.
And so that was a movie her and I always talked about. My mom passed away in 2020. So, you know, it's just the memories I have, of course, talking to her about this and growing up during the time of Showa. And of course, my generation was the end of Showa to the Heisei and then into where we are now, of course. But, you know, growing up, of course, Showa was my thing. And so everyone kind of has a starting point, and your starting point, of course, being Millennium, and then into the Millennium series. But I'm sure peripherally you started discovering Heisei, Showa, you know, all of the, you know.
It varied and stuff. Like I said, honestly, after G-Fest last year, people that I met and stuff and everything persuaded me to watch different things and stuff and everything. So, you know, like I said, back then it wasn't widely available like you can do streaming now, you know, so like I can literally go on any streaming app on TV, and they're all there, and I'm like, ooh, these are all, I gotta watch these all. And so I did, you know, and I don't regret it. You know, it definitely widened you know, my view on all Godzilla movies. Obviously there's a couple in particular I still don't like the most, but it's okay. But obviously even now, as you see in my shirt, I am a huge fan of Shin, which I know baffles people, you know, even my wife, she does not like my new collecting habit right now with Shin. It's very ugly in my room, but yeah, I definitely enjoy all the films. For sure. I mean, obviously you can tell nowadays that the production stuff back then was what was available back then. So it's not like up to date in 4K, and it's not got special graphics and stuff, you know. That's why I like a lot of people nowadays, like my kids, you know, I have a 9-year-old and 2-year-old, and I've told my 9-year-old, like, you know, hey, even yesterday we were watching Shin Godzilla, but they've watched Destroya, and they teared up too, actually, at the end. You know, it was really hit the heart there, knowing my kids felt the same way I did. But I try to tell them, like, that's not, you know, that's not a you know, a piece of robot or whatever. I said, that's somebody in a suit. And they were really shocked about it. Like, what? There's a guy in there? I said, yeah. And they're like, wow, he's got to be really hot in there. So it's just amazing to see what was available back then. And that's why, like, some of these suit actors are like legendary, you know, versus what they're doing nowadays in movies. You know, it's just not the same. But meeting the suit actors is definitely a privilege. Like I said, I know I've met Tsutomu Kitagawa. I met Ria Oda last year at G-Fest. She is actually very small, but she is very sweet. Yeah, so far that's all I've met. So, you know.
Yeah. And so, now that going to cons like G-Fest, and I'm sure you're, you know, planning on doing that again, and going to some other cons, any in the works there?
Not really. I mean, like I said, G-Fest, I can't be the one. Like, I know All Monsters Attack is supposed to be happening soon. And that's literally, I believe that's at the Crown Plaza in Chicago.
Yeah.
And G-Fest is again at the Crown or the Hyatt, and that was a big issue when both of those got announced. People are trying to figure out, do I go to one or both? Because obviously it's pretty tight on the wallet.
Well, yeah.
You got people that are trying to say, even myself, I'm trying to save up for G-Fest. I'm doing a real great job. But yeah, so like I know, like, with All Monsters Attack, I went to that one a couple years ago in Indy. It was really funny because my son Luke had just been born, and I told my wife, "Hey, I'm gonna go drive to Indianapolis for like an hour or two, and I'll be back." So I literally went to All Monsters Attack, walked into Crown Plaza, found where he was at, said hi. Here, can you sign a couple things? And then took a picture and got out of there.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I did not bring enough money, and my wife's gonna kill me if I don't get home.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like me, it's more financial and obviously family stuff like that. Like my wife went to G-Fest with me last year, and she's gonna go again this year as well. As long as we find somebody to babysit our kids for a couple of days, which shouldn't be a problem. But she was actually really shocked. I was originally going to go by myself, and then she was, suspicious. She's like, "Oh, you're going to Chicago for 3 days?" And but she came, and she could tell that I was extremely different. Like, I'm a very personable person, and I can strike up a conversation with anybody. But when I got to G-Fest last year, I was like frozen because I was like, "Oh my God." And she's like, "What does it feel like? You're in a whole place where people like the same stuff you do." And I'm like, I don't know what to do. Like, what do I do with my hands? Like, I felt like Ricky Bobby.
Yeah.
So, and it was really great, and she enjoyed it too. But then she really got an idea of how much these like figures and stuff cost in the dealer's room and all that. And like the Saturday that we went, she went to the dealer's room with me for like an hour, and she's like, "I need the car keys. I need to get out of here." And I was like, "Fine, that's fine. Go do your thing." She was getting kind of claustrophobic because it was pretty busy last year.
I've heard it's packed. Yeah.
Yeah. So last year it was over 7,000 people in attendance in the weekend. Mm-hmm. And I predict probably we're going to have anywhere close to 10,000 maybe. So anybody that's going, definitely starts taking your vitamin C now.
And saving up the money, right? Because
because I mean, the thing is they do a group rate, which is really great. And like I immediately booked last year, I booked the room like right when it was available. And obviously I got the tickets and stuff, I think back in December or something like that. So it could definitely get pricey. Yeah. I know last year when we went, we spent too much money on other stuff. So this year we're going to be pre-planning as far as, buying stuff, bringing it to the hotel room, maybe doing Uber Eats. I know that doesn't sound like it's going to be cheaper, but if you go to a restaurant out there, it's going to be pricey. I mean, at the Hyatt, like we probably spent like at least maybe $100, $200 just in the convenience store.
Sure.
And that was on coffee and alcoholic beverages. The bar, we probably spent around 75 to 100. The breakfast buffet there, not dogging on the breakfast buffet, but it was like $25 a person.
Easily. Yeah.
And I would have rather went to McDonald's. I'll just say that.
Everything with that Chicago price is on top of, I mean, and there's extra taxes. I mean,
and it was a buffet too. And like some of the stuff didn't even work. Like the toaster that was there didn't work. So my wife was sitting there waiting around forever just to get a piece of toast. And so it was just really pricey. And I mean, it is what it is, but we're going to plan ahead and, bring snacks and stuff and everything and maybe do Uber Eats and stuff, more options. I mean, like I said, Uber Eats isn't cheaper, sure, but at least it's a little bit better than the breakfast buffet that's $5 a person.
And I found the first time you go, you kind of just take everything in, and then as you go to these subsequent cons, that you've kind of figure out the lay of the land. I would be so lost because I go back to that Crown Plaza in the Rosemont, so I'm out of the loop when it comes to the Hyatt. It's been so many years, but it's always during my kids' 4-H fair. So I have not been for that many years. Maybe when they get out of it, or if one of these two will give a week, one way or the other, I might be able to go to G-Fest again, but it's tough.
Yeah. I was talking to your kid earlier today and I said, "You going to go to G-Fest this year?" He goes, "No, sadly not." He goes, "Maybe the next time I'll be while I'm in high school." I'm like, "Oh man."
It's tough. Yeah.
He's like, "Yeah, I'm in these 4-H fairs and it's always that weekend." I'm like, "Oh,
yeah." Well, and it's really involved, the 4-H fairs that we get involved in. We do everything from the indoor competitions and the outdoor animal stuff. So yeah, it's just kind of a tough thing to get out. And of course, money, like you said, it's an investment, time investment, getting out of work, getting out, opportunity costs and things like that. But I do miss it. I miss the people that are all talking the same language with this Godzilla stuff. It's like, and everything kaiju, it's all, the peripheral kaiju, Ultraman, Gamera, everything involved in it. Yeah. You're just surrounded by so much.
Right. And like the thing was too, like, you go there for the weekend and you think like, okay, so like we got there Friday, which it'll be the same thing this year. We'll get there on Friday around like 12 o'clock, PM Central Standard Time, check in, whatever. Going into the dealer's room, you kind of get a feel for it. Like Fridays are not that bad because people are still getting off work. So it's not as bad. But then Saturday comes and you're like, hold on to your britches because it's bad. Like I said, and I'm not joking about the vitamins. You better stock up on vitamin C. Yes. Boost that immune system because, I mean, it is what it is. But yeah, the thing is like you go there and like, at the Hyatt, like I said, you walk in and literally the dealer's room is what the dealer's room is. And then you've got like the movie room where you can watch old films, and then like downstairs on the lower levels where they can get like tattoos, the video arcade stuff. There's people you can meet down there, like comic book people and authors and all that kind of stuff. And that's pretty much what it is. That's all. And then there's the art room too.
That's right.
So like, that's all it is. It's not like this huge, like size of a mall type thing, but the thing is, like with the dealer's room, like you may have missed something. Yeah. So like I'll tell you, one of my good friends, Thomas Lee, we were all there the whole weekend, and he would walk into the dealer's room and look at something, and go, I really like that. He's like, I'm going to see if that's available later. And then we come back and it's gone, knowing that one of our other buddies actually bought something, and it was like, wait, you bought that? And so it's kind of bad too, because a lot of people are coming from out of state. So like Thomas and a couple other people live in California. Like I was talking to some of my buddies planning on what we're going to do. So like, obviously it's only 4 hours away for us, to get to Chicago. So it's like nothing, I'll be driving that today.
I was going to say, I've made that drive a couple of times, and it's like, get a good podcast or something to listen to on the road, some good music. Yeah. And then you in the summer, you gain an hour because they're Central Time.
Right. Yeah. And so, but, and then some other people are like, driving too, that are like in Colorado and stuff. So some of these people are like actually going to be driving long distances, but they're going to be staying longer. Yeah. But like Thomas and a few other people and stuff, they're got to get their flights and stuff. And so when you're buying stuff at G-Fest or any con, the big problem is obviously how are you going to get all that stuff back?
I know.
And so that's when you start talking to people about taking it with them that maybe had a car, and then, or you're telling the person you bought it from, hey, can you just ship it out? So like Thomas himself, he'll get like big boxes and do live unboxings. And he probably still has boxes that are closed up that he's never opened because he wants to leave everybody in suspense and stuff. And we all know what he bought, but some people don't, so like, and he has to get these all shipped, and that kind of sucks. Cause it's like, if you've got a figure or two, like last year I bought a KOC Millennium Godzilla from one of the artists down there. And of course I couldn't be like the whole crowd and have their little toys and figures, like, photo shoots and stuff, because mine's still in the art room. So I had to wait till that Sunday to pick it up in the morning. And thankfully I drove. So I would never have one of those shipped. I'll tell you that right now. But I did end up selling that KOC not too long ago to one of my good buddies, Daniel. Yeah. I packed that thing up like, man, it was crazy. I think I probably spent about $60 just in shipping materials. I'm sure. Because bubble wrap is not cheap nowadays. I'll tell you that right now. You get a whole thing and it's like $30-$40. I'm not even joking.
And it's a cardinal sin to send something that gets damaged on the road in shipping and all that. So I'm going to get some chats in here real quick, and we'll get right back to talking some cons. Adrian, Godzilla Train 1090s in the chat. We've got Bobby Reynolds. Good to have you. He's a regular here too. Adrian again remembers meeting you in person there. And our good friend Mike Ross. The dealer's room is pretty dangerous, especially if you're around Mike Ross, because Mike will buy anything. Everyone knows Mike, and he's the big spender. Oh, yeah. So he will get there and make sure that he ends up with a truckload of collectibles. But unbelievable. But and of course, shout out to those who go to G-Fest, the shout out to those who attend All Monsters Attack, shout out to those who are coming up, Kaiju Brooklyn. That's another good one that's kind of new. And I know that there is out in San Francisco what is called the Godzilla Fest. And so there are more and more of these kaiju fests and kaiju conventions. And what is cool about G Fest I've found in a lot of these is, like you said, it's not like a huge con like you would think of Comic Con, which just has endless amounts of just halls and panels and things to do. And it's like, this is small scale, but it's packed, like you said. 10,000, goodness gracious.
Well, last year was over 7,000 people in attendance.
Oh, the 10,000 maybe this year.
I'm predicting at least 10,000 this year, if not. But I mean, it's
7 is good.
Yeah, 7's a bit much, but
yeah,
it was probably all on the Saturday. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah, Tim Bartos in the chat, thank you for joining us. And again, everyone who's chatting, keep talking. If you have questions for us, we're talking collectibles, of course. So anything collectibles, obviously figures we love, but talk media, we'll talk all kinds of collectibles, anything that's got the big G on it, we want to pick it up. So let's talk collectibles. What was kind of your big getting into it? Obviously it kind of starts small and then gets bigger, and then you have a whole room full of thousands of dollars worth of merch. So kind of tell me the journey.
Don't tell my wife that, okay?
Well, I do not want to do a inventory with price, but I look at it this way: it's an investment. So
and she knows that, but we don't talk about it.
I get you.
It's like the cardinal rule.
We don't talk about collectibles.
No, trust me. So real quick before getting into it,
shout out to our wives.
Yes, we love you. No, last year at G-Fest, she realized how much these things cost. So like there was one I was eyeballing. It was a Marmot Desu Goji, chunky boy, and somebody wanted like $900 or something for it. And she's like, wow. So she really actually realized how much stuff this cost.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, the problem was the reason why I bought that KOC was because of Thomas Lee talking into my ear saying, hey, make a deal. And I'm like, what? So no, the story with that was my wife and I on Friday had already went in there. We already checked all the great art out. It was amazing. I loved it. And then obviously Saturday came around. She left me, which was not a good idea. Oh. And so Thomas and all them wanted to go back to the art room. And I was like, sure, I already went in there, but let's go check it out as a group. So we went around in there. And of course, we came up to the diorama of Marcellus Winters and all his stuff. And I saw the KOC Millennium and the whole diorama. He had an Orga resin kit and also a Megaguirus kit as well, and the diorama was just sick. It was amazing. And I looked at the KOC and I was like, man, that thing looks awesome. And me being a Millennium fan, I'm like, man, I would totally buy that. Thomas comes up behind me, hey, make a deal. And I'm like, what? He's not going to sell that. And he's like, you don't know that. So I ended up talking to Marcellus. We made a deal and stuff. And so I spent I offered him $1,000 and he said, sure. Whew. And so that was that, because he said, the kit was about 600 at work was about 600. I said, well, let's make a deal. Let's do, 1,000, and he's like, okay. And so some time went by. My wife finally came back, thank God. And we were all sitting around, and I won't say who said anything, but somebody was talking about, pricing and stuff. And we were talking about like, man, we're going to have to like make up money from all this stuff. And someone had mentioned, oh, well, we'll just charge people for hugs at G-Fest.
Whoa.
And I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, well, in your case, you'd have to charge like 1,000 people $1 or like 100 people. And my wife goes, she did the math real fast. I'm like, what? And she's like, oh my God. She's like, are you serious? And she's like, I don't care. It's your money, because it was, disposable money. Whatever, it's definitely a life lesson. But yeah, so we don't really talk about value of my stuff in the house because it's just not a good topic. But the good thing is like with my collection, if I really want something, I will sell something in my collection. So I sold there was a clear Shin Godzilla Gigantic that I just got. And, I sold the KOC kit for that to a good friend of mine, Daniel. Shout out to Daniel Baker. And, I took a little pay cut off of it because he's, gave him a hookup and stuff. But still, I would always do that deal again for sure because that gigantic clear X Plus is, oh, God. If I had to get rid of everything in my collection, that would be the last thing that stays. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah.
But as far as collectibles go, how I got started. So about 5-6 years ago, kind of around the same time I met my wife and stuff. I was really into Funko Pops, and like, I mean, I was into Funko Pops. I had a buddy of mine who was moving to Texas who was a huge Deadpool fan. And one of the dates that I went on with my wife, we went to Dave and Buster's. And you go to the gift shop. I never ever buy anything. You know, I win all these tickets and I'm like, whatever.
Right.
You know. So I went to the gift shop and I saw that there was this little Funko Pop Deadpool. It was a blue suit Deadpool. And I was like, man, he would totally love that. I don't know what a Funko Pop is. Don't really care. I gave it to him. A couple weeks go by and I'm like, man, I really want that. So we went back to Dave and Buster's. It was gone. But there was other Funko Pops there. And I'm thinking maybe Funko Pops are a Dave and Buster's thing only. Little did I find out that no, that's not the case. I didn't realize that Funko Pops were out till like 2009, 2008, 2009. And I'm like, oh my Lord. So I made it a mission. I started collecting Marvel and Deadpool and all this, and eventually got to a point where I'm like, I'm never going to be able to collect stuff, all of it. So eventually I ended up getting my wife Funko Pops, which we still have. We have the Bob Ross. She loves Bob Ross. So we still have all those Funko Pops. She will take those to the grave. So I'll tell you that right now.
Wow.
Yeah, she'll kill me for them. Even though I bought them, it's crazy. But then she was really into The Office. So, and I love The Office too.
Yeah.
Thanks to her. I swore it would never be a show I'd ever like, and somebody else mentioned it. And I'm like, this is awesome. She's like, I hate you sometimes. She's like, I tell you to watch these shows and you never like them until someone else tells you to do it. So we ended up collecting all those and stuff. And then eventually I started getting invited into groups to win, pops and stuff. And I got into those. And at one point, I can't even tell you the value that I had in these things, but I had like some of these OG ones, like Star Wars and stuff, the original Rocky set, all this stuff. So right there, I had, disposable income at that point because I could sell those. So I ended up getting into Legos, which was just the vehicles. So our room was getting really packed full of stuff. You got Funko Pops, both sides facing us. You got Legos set up. And that's when I started getting Godzilla. I went on eBay and I was like, man, I'm this age now. Like I could buy Godzilla stuff now. So I went on eBay and started looking and I started getting into Bandai. So I bought like 4 or 5 Millennium Bandai and a couple Final Wars and a couple 95s. And then that's what kind of started it. Because then when we moved to our new house, I got rid of the Legos. I sold those real fast. Let me tell you, people in the Lego community.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Like I had the boxes and everything, and I disassembled them. And I mean, I sold them for like half price, but still, I made bank, and used that to buy other stuff. So.
Right.
And then eventually over time, the Funko Pops kind of dissipated because I really just don't like them anymore. And again, I used those funds to buy more stuff. So that's initially what started the collecting hobby. And like now, like I don't really have any Funko Pops. Like I think I have obviously a couple Office ones that were signed for her. I've got a Flash Gordon Funko Pop that I had Sam Jones sign.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, me and my wife actually went to Comic Expo in downtown Cincinnati, Ohio. And we had just like been going out for not too long. And we went there specifically to go see Sam Jones. Yeah. And he was really, really nice guy. And
I have heard that actually, because he will go to the comic shops, little comic shops. Just he's not like above going to these places and meeting you and just being cool. Right. I think he's awesome.
Yeah, no, he's definitely down to earth. I mean, it seems like to be, I wouldn't really know how to classify him in the Hollywood realm, A, B or C, D, celebrity. But the fact that he doesn't charge as much, he was sitting there talking to me and my wife and stuff and just chit chat. And there wasn't really a long line for him either. So, but I'm like, I specifically bought a Funko Pop of Flash Gordon off Amazon, and I wanted to meet him ultimately. We went to Comic Expo again a couple years ago, and I met Paul Bennett, the guy that played Vision. Okay. And the Avengers.
Bettany, I think, or Paul Bettany. Paul Bettany, yeah. I only know him because you go back, he was in Knight's Tale with Heath Ledger, and he's a great guy too. Yeah, he's hilarious.
And he was extremely chill too. So I specifically bought his autograph and went in there, had him sign a Vision Pop, which I then ended up selling, pretty much for what I paid for. So, but he was really nice. I was sitting there talking to him for, as long as I could,
Yeah.
you know, because you got somebody nudging. I'm like, okay, move on,
I
buddy.
know,
It's
right?
like, let me talk to him. Gosh.
Yeah, give me a few.
Yeah. But yeah, so definitely interesting. And then obviously, like I said, with celebrities and even in the Godzilla world now, it's like I was telling you, like suit actors are like legendary now, you know?
Oh yeah.
You know, it's like, you know, you could see actors and actresses in these, you know, other movies and stuff, kaiju movies, and it's like, hey, how you doing? But man, you go see the suit actors, you're like, you're the real deal, man. Like, you're awesome. Or if you're Ria Oda, you're like, you're the real deal. You're awesome, girl.
Yeah, and then yeah, when I was going to say that is a collection too, because we'll come back to figure collectibles,
Yeah.
but I wanted to talk other peripheral collectibles. Obviously, you go to the cons, you can get you can obviously buy it, you know, online. An autographed picture, but to meet them to meet them in person and to shake their hands, to get a picture with them, all of that is just, and to say that you were breathing the same air as them. The same thing as, you know, bringing you here and feeding you dinner, you know, cool, right?
It was delicious. Even the apple pie was homemade. I'm telling you, the apple pie was so good.
Yeah, again, shout out to my wife who you know cooked us dinner, and she's just awesome in every way to let you know our wives to you know let us have these you know these outlets for you know what they are to enjoy a little bit of this. We could be into sports, but I don't know. I'm not into sports. I don't care. You know, I like collecting this stuff. Yeah. This is what I do. You do too. Yeah.
I mean, my wife liked my collection at one point until I started getting into Shin, and now she just despises my collection. She's like, these are so ugly.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah. And then the Lego collection. Yeah, there's Adrian talking about Legos. Very different animal.
Yeah.
Bobby Reynolds. Okay, yeah, let's talk some buy figures made by 3D printing. I have not personally. I know some people who have had some 3D print like you know, custom stuff, and I've seen that they've enjoyed it, but you know, I would rather get maybe something that's licensed anyways. But yeah, when it comes to like 3D printing, and 3D printing can do some like cool buildings, you know, some accessories.
Oh yeah,
I think that's cool. You know,
I mean, my view on 3D printing, I mean, I'm not trying to hurt anybody's feelings. Like I said, it is some work, but I mean, like, because you have to buy the material, and the 3D printer is not cheap either. I've been in a lot of people's houses that have 3D printers and stuff, and you know, it's nice, but you know, from what you see at cons and all these events and stuff, people are making these things, but realistically, the computer is doing it because you're inputting a design and the machine's doing it. Don't get me wrong, this stuff's awesome. Like, I've seen some of this stuff where people make like Iron Man masks and Spider-Man masks with the magnets and stuff, and you can make a lot of stuff on 3D printed. Like, I had somebody make a 3D printed stand for me for my Ghidorah, the W Dragon, because it was missing, and he made one for me. I gave him the measurements and stuff. I'm like, that's doable. Like, you can make a lot of nice stuff that you can use around the house. But when it comes to figures, I'm the same way with you. It's not even, you know, it's not so much licensing, but you can definitely tell like the details. Like, you can tell if something's 3D printed,
right?
You know, and it's just 3D printing in the figure world. I don't know.
I think of it more right angles, like buildings, you know, accessories.
Yeah,
those are kind of cool enhancements and accessories. But yeah, the actual figures, I want something that's been made by, you know, a sculptor who's, you know, really knows that down to the, you know, square, you know, details, millimeter almost, those fine details, you know, like your Yuji Sakai's out there, obviously, you know, just beautiful sculpts that he does. Yeah, as far as like other collectibles, obviously you know, you collect some autographs, you've got a few, you know, obviously that can get out of hand too. You can start finding a bunch of collectible autographs. But what other collections as far as kaiju stuff do you collect? Anything like
that's literally it.
That's it, so just figures?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, well, like posters. I do have posters.
That's right. Yeah.
And so I will say, a lot of people ask me, oh, what poster did you get? Is that like, you know, authentic? No, trust me. I go on eBay and I buy, you know, these posters are like $5 to $10. I don't really care about if it's from, you know, this or that, like it's a piece of paper.
Sure.
Trust me, the frame that I buy for these posters costs way more than the actual poster itself. But I love the poster artwork because I love being, just because, you know, if I'm in my room, like, yes, looking at figures is great, but like the posters, like so far right now, I think I have like I don't know, 8, 9, 10 of them, and there's another one I need to get, which is I can't find it, that's just paper, like poster, it's like felt, it's a GMK, And there's an actual fabric one I want on eBay. It's like $50. So I'm eventually going to buy that. But the rest of them are all like cheap ones and stuff like that. But I like being able to see the poster artwork and stuff. And I know that a lot of times when I've done my live unboxings in our group, shout out to the Real Kaiju Collectors group there on Facebook. Everybody usually compliments me on my posters, like, wow, sick poster collection, and I'm like, thanks, because trust me, putting posters up and trying to not be ODD about it,
right,
is really tough. Trust me, I've used a tape measure and stuff and try to get aligned, and it's still not always right. But being able to sit in my room now, like I've been able to look around and I'm like, man, this is awesome. I can watch TV in here and I can look away for a minute. Like, wow, I like that. I like that. And like I said, the posters are cheap. The picture frames or poster frames are a little bit more expensive because I get them from Walmart. They're like $20 a piece.
And I was going to ask you, what kind of posters, like, are you into the, Millennium series, since that was kind of your starting?
So it's just really a variety. So like, I'm trying to go through, like, obviously I have a -1 and a Shin, pretty much, I don't have them all, but I can't think off the top of my head, obviously. I stare at them all the time, but yeah, there's a couple that are 95. I have 2 of those actually, because there's 2 really great artworks of that movie. But yeah, I've got like Space Godzilla. I don't have a Biollante yet, but maybe. Millennium's on there. Mothra is on there too, and there's a couple other ones. Obviously, I like the -1 and the Shin more. The -1 is obviously my favorite. The Shin one is obviously, I wish there was a different one. I've looked around and I can't really find one that really sparks me to get it. But yeah, the posters are really nice and they're definitely affordable,
Yeah. And I was going to say, this comment here, Orai's poster. There he goes. Orai, Noriyashi Orai, the Heisei series, starting with Godzilla 1985 or Return of Godzilla 1984, whatever. That is, my favorite of the poster artwork that you see out there, of course. But I'm also, a big fan of a lot of the VHS cover art that they've used, Laserdisc cover art. So you can go crazy with the posters too, but you only have so much wall space to fill up.
I got a big basement. Okay.
I know, right?
I try to confine it into my room, but because I have the ductwork in my room behind me, so like the wall is lower. So I can always put more on there. It's just kind of looks a little weird. So.
And you were right about the Shin. It was kind of minimalist when it came to the Shin artwork. It was a lot of that red background with the face. But there's so much they could have done with the poster art. That it was very mysterious, kind of like, what's this movie coming out before 2016? And it was like, it's a really scary looking Godzilla and all. And so, but they kind of kept it very minimalist. And you also collect apparel too. This is
so I specifically bought this last week on Amazon specifically for this show. Okay.
Hey, awesome.
So I have a couple. Like I said, I'm not big on the apparel because trust me, I wear my clothes out like crazy. Ask my wife, I'd still wear the same stuff over and over and over again. I don't feel like you need to waste money on clothes. The only thing is the essentials, socks, underwear, socks, you lose one and it's gone. But as far as Godzilla apparel, I'll probably buy a couple more shirts closer to G-Fest. I know that with our groups and stuff on Facebook, we are having some shirts made for the groups themselves. So we'll be doing that. But I'll probably buy a couple more shirts and stuff like that. But there is actually one. It was the first one. I still have it. My mom actually got it to me. And I swear to God, that thing is so amazing because it brings up so many conversations. Like, it's just like a grayish shirt and it's got like 9 different eras of Godzilla on it. And ever since she got it for me, like, people would ask me about it. They're like, oh, who's your favorite Godzilla and this and that and everything. And like, even people at the gym and stuff, people I've never even talked to, they're like, really nice shirt. There was actually a girl at the gym, and I've seen her and her husband in there. Her husband's in the military and stuff and everything. And the one day, like, I've seen her many, many times. She's never said hi to me or anything. But the day that I wore that shirt, I walked past her and she goes, hey, is that a Godzilla shirt? I said, yeah, it is. I'm thinking, oh man, this girl's going to start making fun of me. I'm a loser. I'm a dork. She goes, no. She goes, my husband really loves Godzilla. I'm like, yeah, sure he does. She's like, no, I swear. And I was like, oh, really? And she's like, yeah, and he came in, and sure enough, he and I started striking up a conversation about it, and so like I don't see him in the gym that much because he's busy with work and, doing military stuff and leave and all that. So, but anytime he's in there, I always talk to him about it and stuff. But it's like, it's amazing how, you think that you're the only one.
Right.
I mean, like you can go out in public. Like I said, I go in people's houses every day for the last 12, 13 years. I never see anything. And I mean, we'll talk about that in a minute because with collections and stuff like that, it's amazing how you see people and you don't even know that they actually collect something. But there's like 3 or 4 houses that I wanted to talk about at one point in the last like 3-4 years that me living where I'm at, like I went into people's houses where they had so many collectibles and I was shocked. One was a Godzilla.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
The rare Godzilla collector, right?
Yes.
That's out there. So we'll catch up with a little bit here. Did you have a question from Godzilla Trend 1090? Excited about the guests coming to G-Fest this year. I'm trying to remember who all's coming.
There's a few. There is don't kill me for this. Like I said, I'm very bad with the Japanese names. But the actual creator of Millennium Godzilla is going to be there. I know we were talking about at dinner. We couldn't think
before.
of it.
Yeah. But he'll be there.
Yes. And so I if he continues to stay there, I'll definitely be getting his autograph. There's a couple other people, none that really like stood out to me. Like I said, last year was really nice because Ria Oda was there. She's the one that plays Baragon.
That's right. Yeah.
And actually, one of my buddies paid for the picture, and he was like, "Get in here." So we all did the rawr, pose with her. And I'm not joking. She is actually very short. It's not even a joke, but she is very short, but she's very sweet. And she's got a lot of energy too. But we also saw Linda Miller. She was just there just to be there. And we took pictures with her too. And again, I did not know who Linda was at first because I'm not a King Kong fan, but we do have a couple people in our group that are, and they're like, "You don't know who Linda Miller is?" I'm like, "Should I?" And they're like, "She's like in King Kong, the original." I'm like, "Oh, wow." And so we were just sitting there talking to her. Like I said, again, like these people, they're normal people and stuff, but when you notice who they are and what movies they've been in, like I said, with suit actors, you could go talk to someone that didn't even know who it is and say, like, you'd be like, "Oh yeah, like Godzilla." I'd be like, and then they could be walking across down the road and you wouldn't even know who they were.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you're a Godzilla fan, you're like, "Wow, that person looks like Tsutomu." Oh, it is. Hey,
exactly.
I really hope Tsutomu actually shows up this year. I know
I know he'll be on All Monsters Attack.
Yeah, I'm hoping he makes time for G-Fest too.
Yeah. Thank you, Mike Ross, Shinichi Wakasa, the designer that we were talking about. Yeah, it was like, again, right on the tip of both of our tongues.
Could not remember it.
Yeah, Mike Ross talking about buying the portfolio for his large posters. And Mike, I'm actually looking at a poster I purchased from you, the Godzilla versus Gigan. Unfortunately, I don't have a camera pointed at it, but you've seen it. You know it. And
That's
it's
nice.
Yeah, it's that Japanese poster. Because I like a mixture of both the American posters that for the release of the American versions, but to see the actual Japanese posters with the characters actually on there, that's really cool. And how they advertise versus how we advertise in the United States,
right?
Very different. We're more minimalist in the United States, and we get some things wrong. Because like even in the VHS box art for Godzilla versus Gigan, there's the 2 ladies at the bottom from Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla 74, and it's like they wrong movie.
Yeah, wrong movie.
Yeah,
so what?
Or Terra Mechagodzilla Laserdisc and the Paramount release that has it's behind, but it has it has King Caesar on it. Terra Mechagodzilla. Yeah, it's like, whoops.
Somebody messed up. It's okay.
Yeah, wrong movie, but no big deal. Let's see. Bobby Reynolds, which Godzilla movies that made him be like Rocky? Oh, like, are you asking, Bobby, like which Godzilla movies that were like a boxing match where he's the underdog and comes out victorious? That's pretty much all of them.
Made him be like Rocky. Oh yeah.
Yeah, the underdog. But I
like GMK. Okay,
GMK.
So GMK is the man. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
I like Shin and -1 and all these. Like I said, I have a love for all variants. No, I lied about that. There's one variant I don't like, but I'm not gonna bring it up.
Okay.
But no, GMK is awesome. It
Yeah.
was funny last year at G Fest. People were nicknaming me GMK just because of my size. This year, hopefully, I don't know what they'll call me this time. So I'm starting to cut weight. So
if you want to think of Rocky, though, a Godzilla that he does kind of act like a boxer would be Godzilla versus Megalon. That one, he was doing a lot more of the punching and kind of keeping his arms up a lot like a boxer. But other than that, he doesn't. He's got that atomic breath. He's got that tail. I mean, come on, And then Shin's got a whole host of extra, power ups to him. And so, yeah. And I was going to say, is it a film that you said it kind of grew on you? Like maybe not at first was your favorite.
Yes.
And then,
so obviously when Shin came out, I watched it, obviously being a Godzilla fan. And I thought, what in the world is this? This is disgusting. It's ugly. I don't even understand it. And I just kind of let it go. But then I don't know what happened. I don't know if it was just because of the figures that had come out. And I love the, aesthetic look and stuff and just the look of him. I mean, yes, he's got little short, dinky arms. But I think it was just the fact that it's a whole different Godzilla. It's not like any other Godzilla in the history. Obviously Godzilla's had different variants from year to year and eras and stuff like that. But the Shin just, it changes the playbook, because now it's not just, oh, boom, there's Godzilla, okay, he's mad, he's destroying Japan, whatever. Now it's like there's an evolutionary type thing, because obviously with Shin, the reason why he's evolving is he's adapting.
Right.
He's not just coming on land looking like my kid yesterday. Honestly, both my kids were watching Shin yesterday, and my 9-year-old Jack goes, "Ew, is he bleeding everywhere?" I said, "Yeah." And of course, my 2-year-old's like, bleh. I'm like, Luke, be quiet. You like Shin, get out of here. And I'm like, I told my kids, it's like, that's what I have downstairs. There's no way I can convince my wife to ever like it. It's okay though. If I can get my kids to do it, we're perfect. But no, like with Shin, like I said, just the way he adapts and stuff every single time. That's why he has these forms, and that's the thing. A lot of people get confused with like the forms and stuff and everything like that, because Godzilla's never had forms. He's never actually evolved into different phases, especially, 4, and then the fourth one having 2, and
Right.
It's just the power ups. And then obviously there's the end result. Is there a 5th form, you see at the end of the movie where he's frozen by the blood coagulant or whatever, which is only like, what was it? Like the 25 days or 24 days. I mean, it kind of doesn't make sense. Like he's only frozen for 24 days. So after that 24th day or whatever, it's like, well, we're back at square one again. He's attacking Japan. But at the end, you can see the tail, where there's like these humanoid Godzilla things coming off. And again, that's an evolutionary thing, because he was evolving. He was trying to make a better version of himself. And honestly, they should have just let it happen, because that would have been awesome to see like little humanoid Godzillas running around Japan. Like, come on, well, who doesn't want to see that?
And yeah, there's so much of the fan theories too,
right?
As to what that could be. Well, obviously, we're never going to get I shouldn't say never say never, but as officially, may never get a sequel.
You can keep it that way. It's okay.
Well, and I think of it like the first Matrix. I think they should have stopped, because I was like, they kind of ended good.
Yeah, they did.
Quit.
Yeah.
You're while you're ahead.
Exactly.
Yes.
Like, you made a masterpiece. Why do you just no?
Yeah, you're done at this point. Let's talk soundtracks. Mike Ross in the chat. Favorite soundtrack. I'll get mine out of the way, and I'll pass it over to Adrian. All of them, in my opinion, are great for their own reasons. But Destroy All Monsters replays in my head constantly. I love Akira Ifukube, and specifically Destroy All Monsters is the one that plays in repeat in my head. But all of them are good for their own reasons. Take it away, Adrian.
So as far as soundtracks go, I mean, I don't know if you're talking like musical or like actual words or something like that. I'll definitely say like Final Wars is definitely not my favorite. I'll tell you that one. It's just too much sex, no, honestly, as far as soundtracks go, obviously it's going to be a tie between 95 and Shin, because I don't know what it is about that. Obviously with 95 at the end, and I'll tell you this, to be honest, I honestly skip Godzilla versus Destroya till the very end. That's my guilty pleasure. I can't get through all the beginning of it. Like, I already know what's going on, you know, they evolve and stuff, but getting to the end. But the music, just like I don't know how to explain it, but it's what makes the scene in that movie so, like, you know, a tearjerker, you know, because like I said, if you don't cry at the end of 95, you get your Godzilla card taken away. I'm telling you that right now. But it's just that music and the, you know, it's like harmonious, or I don't know how to explain it, but it just adds to the effect and it just makes you kind of tear up. Whereas, I mean, Shin doesn't make you tear up because it's just awesome, you know. But just again, like when he is in Tokyo at his fourth form and he's, you know, getting bombs dropped on him by the US, you know, and you can just see he's in pain. Again, that's not why I'm crying. But like the music just starts getting like, just, I don't know how to explain it. It's just something that like just really gets you, you know, and it's a great, I mean, I don't know what orchestra plays that, but I would, you know, I'd say it's right up there with like the Philharmonic, you know, it's just, it makes the scenes better. You don't need words. You don't need words. And with the Godzilla movie, I think it's just straight music and it just makes the scenes all the better.
And I was going to ask you about that. There was the obviously the classic throwback to Akira Ifukube from 54 that was used, and they used that monaural soundtrack for it, which was interesting choice. But then there was the new music that was made, like Persecution of the Masses. Is that more along the lines of what you like is the new original Shin Godzilla music, or the throwback to the classics, or did it just blend?
Yeah, I guess, it kind of blends, because obviously when you're listening to the music and you hear the original, like the old school stuff, like it takes you back. It kind of gives you that nostalgic. You're like, oh man, I love that. Like even in -1, they use some of the older stuff, and you're just like, it's like the regular Godzilla music, and you're like, yes, like stick to the original, like it's amazing. But yeah, I would say it's more of a, you know, like a mixture and stuff, because, you know, both are great, but both together, mixed together like that, and you can kind of mix into it, you know, not like just an immediate cut off and then play the new stuff, but like you kind of fade into the new stuff. It just, like I said, it makes it all better.
Yeah, it just works well. And there's, people can be collecting the soundtracks too. I love the fact that vinyl records, you know, Waxworks, Mondo, a lot of them are making vinyl records for more merch for us to buy and burn a hole in our wallet, right? So
well, I'm safe, so I just go to YouTube.
Okay, yeah, you could do that. Yeah, or Spotify, Pandora, whatever, to listen to this music. But, you know, I like to have, you know, some of the vinyl albums in the collection too. The artwork sometimes cool, but yeah, you can obviously go broke on all of these collectibles, but, you know, I guess collect with some care. But yeah, when you were talking about going into people's houses and seeing their collections of whatever it is they collect, and I know some Star Wars fans obviously were here the May 4th weekend, and of course, if they would have only gotten into collectibles like we got into, you know, if they could just catch up with the Godzilla, I'm kidding, of course, you know that there's an oversaturation of Star Wars out there for anyone who
wants many baby Grogu's out there, I would tell you.
My goodness, I've got one down there actually, but it's okay. He's peeking at you. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. That was the one collectible from Star Wars that I was like, okay, I'll have that. You know, the kids love it. But yeah, as far as like collectibles, and then you see, you know, when they have the shelves up, and you said there was at least one Godzilla a collector out there that you've seen, and what other kinds of things? Because I think of that movie. You remember Dodgeball?
Yes.
When it's like the girl collects unicorns, and it's like, oh, you know, I'm kind of
like
into unicorns.
Yeah, I see that.
I'm kind of into Godzilla. Yeah, we know.
Yeah.
But what kind of collectibles? And I guess when you have people over, you know, what's their reaction to seeing a big collection?
Well, that would entail people actually coming over to my house.
Okay.
No, my buddies have come over obviously a few times and stuff, and they know. I mean, they know what I collect and stuff. It's been a while since they've been over, but it's okay. I don't need them making fun of me anymore. No, but yeah. So obviously, in my line of work, like I said, I'm an installer of fiber and stuff, and been doing that for about 12, 13 years. And like I said, in those years, I've never been in people's houses where I've been like awed by what they collect, because there was nothing for people to collect. It wasn't until I joined this company that I've been working with for almost 4 years now when I started really seeing it. It must be just Indiana. Let me tell you something. It ain't Ohio. It's Indiana.
Yeah.
So some time ago, obviously, when I first started, I was in Greensburg, Indiana. and I was actually going to help somebody out on a job. And I got there, and regular house. Again, you don't assume anything on the outside. You don't assume anything on the inside. But I walked in this one room. It was Godzilla stuff. And I'm like, holy crap. I'm like, I love this. Okay. And so the problem was, like, I wanted to talk to this guy so much longer and stuff, but we had a job to do.
Right.
And I didn't want the other technician to get mad and stuff, because, we had more work to do. But I was like, man, I could just stay here and talk to this guy. But, he had a really nice collection and stuff. And we were kind of chatting a little bit. Not enough, obviously, like we're doing now. It'd been really nice. But so there was that. And I'm like, man, you're the first Godzilla collector I've ever found. And he's like, really? I'm like, yeah, there's, people are just like not cultured with collecting stuff or whatever. So that was that for that particular incident. And so some time went by, and again, another house, Greensburg, Indiana, went into this guy's house. Again, his house was, just a normal house. Where I had to go to fix the stuff was down in the basement. And again, walked in the basement, nothing, but I went through this doorway. Star Wars geek for sure. And this dude must have been in his late 50s. I'm not even joking. And he goes, well, if you're a Star Wars fan, you're going to love this room. I'm like, oh my God, this is awesome. Like, he had the lightsabers, he had the posters, he had figures and everything. And I'm just like, oh my God, this is awesome. So he and I were talking. And then I was like, man, this is so awesome. This is almost as cool as the time I, had this guy that collected Godzilla figures. And he goes, Godzilla figures? I said, yeah. He goes, where's he live at? I said, here in Greensburg. And he goes, you remember what house or street? And I told him the street. He goes, no way, that's my nephew. I said, get out of here. He goes, yeah. And he said the name. And I said, yeah, that was him. He goes, yeah, he definitely likes his Godzilla. And I'm like, man, that's awesome. I'm like, but that's crazy.
Yeah.
There was another person that was in Batesville, and I walked to him in his house, and of course I had to go in the basement. I walked down in his basement, nothing but like signed memorabilia on the wall, and kept going around, all Funko Pops, this and that. And this guy was really interested in wrestling. So this guy had a lot of wrestling figures, regular Funko Pops. This guy had a wrestling ring that he had taken to some con or something, unassembled. Went to this con, assembled the wrestling ring right there in front of whoever this female wrestler was, and had her sign it.
Whoa.
So like me, like, I'm no stranger to wrestling stuff. Like, I don't watch it now. I know it's been a big thing lately, but back in the day when I was a kid, like, I wouldn't say I collected, but I played with the wrestlers, like, really, really hard on them. So, what you're supposed to do. And, I know a little bit, enough to get me in trouble, but not all of it nowadays. But yeah. And again, his basement was awesome. I'm like, man, this is just getting better and better. I'm like, there's no way I'm going to find any more people in Indiana. Wrong.
That's right.
Another person, this is the last person so far, and this guy was at least in his early 60s. Again, walked in the house, normal as could be, walked down in the basement. This guy had 3 rooms. Okay. 3 rooms. First room, he had shelves, ceiling high, full of nothing but collectibles. Next room over, signed memorabilia all over the wall, posters. I mean, you name it. But what the kicker was, there was this other room that I didn't have to go into, but he said, you want to see something else? I was like, sure. Like, I'm in a stranger's house. You want me to see something? Okay.
And you may never come out of that house again. No,
yeah.
It's not Silence of the Lambs.
I could have stayed in that house, honestly. But no, we walked into it, and I swear it was like I walked into like a local store. This guy had like actual grade A shelves, like glass shelves you would see like at a jeweler store, packed up. Like, it was so nice. Like, he had like a cubicle in the middle, he had all these shelves, and these were all filled with anything you could think of as far as these figures. These are these figures that you go to a store and they're like, I don't know what brand they are, but they cost around like $500-600 or whatever. Like, they're heavy duty. And I mean, he had everything: Lord of the Rings, I mean, Star Wars, movies, like, I mean, just anything you can think of. And I was like, I'm like, this is amazing. I don't even want to look at this stuff because I'm afraid something's going to break. So I asked him, I said, I hate to ask this. He goes, no, go ahead. I said, how old are you? And he said, we'll just say I'm in my late 50s. I was like, okay. So he said that, and I was like, okay, well, how long have you been collecting? He goes, literally only for a couple of years. I was like, really? I said, what made you start collecting? He goes, well, when I was a kid, he goes, I played with these kind of toys and I never was able to actually purchase them myself. He goes, so obviously I worked my butt off throughout the years. And he goes, I'm retired now. He's like, so I realized I can buy this stuff. I was like, well, yeah, but you went crazy, man. I'm like, you got grade A shelving units. You got these figures that are $500-$600. Why couldn't you start at something a little lower? And he's like, well, because I don't want to. He goes, I had the money and I wanted the best. And I said, fair enough. And I asked him, I said, I know you won't answer this. I said, how much do you think you got in this? He goes, I'm definitely not going to answer that. I was like, okay. But I can guarantee you that guy had at least close to maybe $75,000 worth of stuff in his house.
Goodness.
Yeah. That was just the basement. Because I had to go back to that guy's house a couple months later. I was like, yes, I love this guy's house. You know, I went downstairs and checked stuff out again. But there was another room upstairs that he didn't tell me about. It was his wife's room. Go in his wife's room. I'm like, why didn't you tell me about this room? It was mostly Funko Pops, but whole wall of Game of Thrones Funko Pops. And then she had Game of Thrones of these figures up there too. I'm like, oh my God, are you sure there's no more rooms in this house that you don't have stuff hidden in that I need to see? Nah, that's it. He's like, I don't need any more rooms in here. I was like, yeah. So, but yeah, those were the 4 customers that I met that I was just shocked. And I'm like, I'm not alone. You know, there are people out there. Yeah. Of course, there are people out there that do collect things that I've seen, you know, like older things, you know, it's like more like artifacts at this point, you know, like Stein glasses. And there was this one guy, he collected a lot of historical German stuff, but it was all for historical stuff.
Well, yeah,
he wasn't like all that, but it was interesting. It was like a museum, to be honest. But yeah, so
yeah. Some people, I think of that, you know, the term adult collector. You know, there's you know, other derogatory terms you could call us or whatever, but you know, because we find ourselves in a philosophy, we're not, you know, getting the toys out like the old days of the, you know, I also collect He-Man too, so you know, to play with them, but you know, as a philosophy of an adult collector, there's the certain brands that have that shelf presence and detail that you love because you're just putting it on a shelf and looking at it,
right?
You know, you're doing the assembly, you're doing the unboxing, and you know, enjoying it as it were. And then, so what kind of you know, when you go into adult collector, do you find yourself focusing on certain brands, certain kaiju, of course, that are your favorites? What is your kind of collecting philosophy as we kind of start wrapping up here? And again, in the chat, if you have questions, let us know here. We're going to start wrapping up shortly because I know you got a long drive home. But yeah, anyways, you know.
That's okay. But yeah, as far as collectibles go, like I said, I've been kind of all over the place, you know, ever since I started collecting Godzilla stuff. You know, my main goal was to collect like 95 stuff because I love burning Godzilla. You know, like I said, I've got, you know, tattoos of Godzilla and Ghidorah and Mothra on me too and stuff and everything. You know, so I've even expanded into that. I'm getting another Godzilla tattoo next weekend, actually, on my leg. And yeah, so for right now, like I've really gotten away from the actual Sofubi look. Nothing against Sofubi. It's just, you know, with collecting this stuff and knowing how expensive it is, you can get way out of hand. And I know there's a lot of people in this fandom that feel like they've gotten way out of hand and stuff and this. So like with me, like obviously, you know, like with Shin Godzilla, it caught my eye. So, and I really wanted to fixate on more of the realistic stuff. Like I said, so Fubi's great and it, you know, the prices vary and stuff, but I kind of feel like in a way it's, you know, don't shoot me for it, but it's kind of plasticky looking. I mean, it's all figures and stuff like that. It's plastic, you know, but it doesn't have like that glossy look, if you know what I mean. Like, it doesn't look like a piece of plastic, but I like the more realistic look because it's detailed and stuff. And, you know, that's what really kind of set it off was getting that KOC last year and stuff. But, you know, I've been kind of fixated on X Plus right now. And then, you know, like I said, obviously my main thing right now is Shin. You know, I've got a -1 coming from Eziobi. It's a statue, and then I have a 95 commission that's done, which I've got to pay for still. So yeah, it's my collection's more fixated on like the X Plus, Easy OB, more realistic looking stuff. and stuff like that. So
yeah, I was gonna ask, like, things like the Ichiban, the Bandai Namco Ichiban, like I bought from you, or I don't know, Super 7, or any resin, yeah, or has it all been kind of vinyl?
So most of it's obviously been, the vinyl and stuff like that, and PVC and whatnot. The resin, obviously the KOC was resin. And then, like I said, the commission that I'm getting here soon is also resin cast. So it's very heavy. I like the resin because it's got some heaviness to it, but it's just like the feel and the look of it. Like I said, I don't really like plasticky looking stuff. Like, it's just, I'm kind of fixated on it. But
I had a comment about that. Agreed. So Fubi gets out of hand fast once you dive into it. And obviously it could be very pricey too. I found some Sofubis out there. I'm like, how is it they're charging this much? Obviously it's got to be on the rare side. And there's plenty of that's out there. But then sometimes I'm like, boy, that color is cool and pops, but I don't see the detail as much in some of those. But some of the figures I find, it's like, for whatever reason, it caught your eye. And I think that's, I guess, the beauty of the Sofubis, because if there is a color scheme that does catch your eye, it's like, sure, you're gonna go after that.
Yeah, I know my wife's not too happy about it because, like I said, obviously getting into the shins, because I've had really nice, beautiful, figures and stuff. There was a few I had, which was from Akamatashi. And like I said, those are very pricey too. And like I said, I had one that was called Flame Emperor last year, and I sold that to buy another Akamateshi, and then I sold that one to, for whatever reason, I can't even keep track anymore. But yes, it can get quite expensive. And like, you go on some of these sites, like, not eBay, but you go on like Mandarake and Bai and Yahoo Japan and all this stuff and everything, or Mercari. You can kind of see. I mean, you can definitely tell that if someone's like price gouging or going too crazy. But I know, like, one of my buddies in the group, he bought a Desu Goji from the company Nag, the Nag or whatever it's called.
Yeah, I have
and
heard of it,
he definitely spent a good chunk on it, but he sold some stuff to pay for it, so, which is fine. We just let him know, like, hey, you got something pretty pricey there. You better have an insurance policy on that thing.
Exactly. Yeah. I got another question for you here in a minute, but I will get our super chat in there. Bobby Reynolds, you are always generous, and I really appreciate it. And I do not require super chats for the comment, but I will read it because I know he likes to talk about his favorite characters. Punky Brewster, there is a flash from the past. He should definitely be on my show talking about my generation, because we'll talk about stuff that I grew up with in the 80s and early 90s. Let's see. We've got the Togarosaurus from War of the Monsters. Yeah, War of the Monsters, another great, Toho film out there. Obviously, Godzilla, we got to get him in there. Pippi Longstocking. Oh, my, yes.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, there's a flash from the past. And
I may not be that age, but I recognize these names.
Absolutely. Martha Speak. The Fonz,
Hey.
Yeah, Janitor. I'm guessing is the janitor from Happy Days. I don't know, but Braun Strowman. Okay, Rocky, Rambo. I know you're a huge action movie fan, Bobby. Yeah, especially the 80s action, 90s action. Raphael. I'm guessing it's the movie version of the Turtles, but then again, maybe the cartoon.
I don't know.
You like the cartoon or the comics?
Yeah,
the comics were great too.
I know TMNT is definitely a popular thing.
Well, wasn't there? There was a suit actor TMNT that ended up canceling.
Yeah, at All Monsters Attack. Yeah, I forgot his name. I don't want to throw him under the bus, but something happens.
It happens. Yeah, even guests at G-Fest, something comes up and it gets canceled. They'll get canceled or whatever. Yeah. So Bobby Reynolds, thank you for that. Yeah.
Wasn't it? What's his name? It was the daughter. We were just talking about him.
Oh, for a G-Fest.
Don Fry's daughter had canceled, I think, or something. Really? I think last year, maybe.
Okay.
Or I forget which thing, but yeah, she had canceled at like last minute.
Yeah.
A lot of people were not happy with it.
It happens, and sometimes they cancel. Some reason or another that they've canceled, that they can try to get someone else in the spot quickly. It's tough, especially when you're flying from Japan, especially, and schedules don't line up, but it happens. But I'll kind of wrap it up with this, kind of talking about collecting, what it does for you. What is it that you find rewarding in life? Obviously we don't need this stuff. We got food. We got food on the table, you know, food in our bellies. We got a roof over our house, obviously, but we love this. And tell me about maybe anything you're excited about coming out or you'd like to see in a figure. You know, maybe they haven't made this yet, and it's something you'd like to pick up on.
Yeah. So like obviously with these figures and stuff, people at the end of the day just got to realize that, you know, they are figures and stuff, and there's way more important things in life than collecting. Like I said, I can't really speak for everybody else about what collecting does. Obviously, it definitely puts a dent in your wallet more than anything. But like my wife and stuff, you know, obviously she knows that, and she's mentioned this many, many times. She doesn't care what I do, you know, as long as, you know, bills are paid, you know, our kids are fed, you know, and everything's taken care of beforehand. You know, she knows that I'm never going to, you know, pay out of pocket per se for anything. Like she knows that if I want something bad, I will sell something of mine to buy whatever that is, no matter what it is. You know, so, and she doesn't really intervene with it, and she doesn't really care. Like I said, she really doesn't want to know the value of the stuff because that's just going to be another argument. So, you know,
right.
You know, but, you know, like I said, yeah, end of the day, like we don't need this stuff, but like, since I've actually moved into my Godzilla room to watch TV on a normal basis now, you know, for like the last week and so, I felt really great because yes, the stuff that's in my room cost money, you know, and obviously if I sold it tomorrow, yes, I'd have money in my pocket, but my room would look boring. But yeah, I love being able to look at it because again, going in that room, you know, and sitting down and looking at all my posters and figures and stuff, you know, there are some days that I, you know, think, why did I get into this? Because I spent so much money doing this stuff, you know, it's getting out of hand, whatever. But most of the days it gives me, you know, like I go to the gym, it gives me kind of a release. It kind of gives me, you know, downtime. I'm in my own, you know, place of, you know, freedom, and it makes me feel good, you know, and, like I said, that's why obviously I've gotten, you know, Godzilla tattoos too, because if forever down the road, if I ever have to get rid of anything, you know, I told my wife, I said, these are not, you know, permanent. You know, if something were to happen tomorrow and I had to sell these, I would do it in a heartbeat, no matter what, especially if it was for my family, you know. But tattoos, I mean, those are on me forever. So
that's right. Yeah.
But as far as like looking forward to anything, I don't know.
Or wish they would make of a certain kind of mold or make or film kaiju that hasn't been made. Yeah, I know. There's tons that they could do.
There is tons. I mean, obviously, you know, I would definitely love, you know, sequels and stuff to like Shin, and I mean, obviously, we know we're going to be getting potentially one from -1, and the director from that and stuff. But, you know, I don't know. It's just really tough because I mean,
yeah,
I wouldn't say they're like reboots or anything from the old movies, but obviously, I mean, it would be nice to see some of these kaiju in the past that, you know, we could see them nowadays, you know, start introducing them into kind of like the -1 era and stuff like that. So seeing more of these foes and stuff and everything. So yeah, I don't really have an idea or anything like that, to be honest. I mean, you just got to wait and see what happens. I mean, we'll complain about it later on whenever it does happen.
Well, sure. Yeah.
Like, man, why'd you do that? You should have done this. Yeah.
I know. Yeah. And there's obviously there's the non-Godzilla kaiju that are out there too. So, you know, you can think of those. Bobby Reynolds with another $5. Yeah. Super chat. Thank you. He's clarifying the janitor from Willy's Wonderland. I don't know that one then. So War of the Monsters, PS2 game made by Incognito Entertainment. Okay, Togura, the Godzilla-like monster from that game. Okay,
Thomas is in here now.
Yeah, there's Thomas.
Thomas, I was talking so much crap about you.
Yeah, where you been, Thomas?
Yeah, you got a lot to back up here.
He's saying we know what you got. I'm guessing he's referring to the tattoos.
Oh, so, yeah. And no, they don't. I haven't showed anything yet. But
looking forward to anything you haven't discovered. Well, I think that's kind of what we were asking. It's like, I don't know if that's what he's asking, but yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. As far as figures go, like I said, I mean, I am eyeballing a couple. I'm looking at potentially getting a third form from Easy Obi. Obviously, got to come up with the money for that one, but I already have an X Plus third form. It's awesome. Love it. It's the clear form. And then obviously with Easy Obi, Omega Beast and stuff, this one, it's got a different pose to it, and it looks a lot better.
Yeah,
but it'd be nice to do a compare and contrast. So
Elliot, I see you out there. Come on in, buddy. Come on in. I've got one of my kids did a photo bomb just outside the door. Come on in. It's okay. Come around. Oh, it's fine. We are at my house, and yeah, we got our
boom.
Yeah, come around this way. Come around the back. No. I got a cable. Yeah, I got a cable. Okay. Yeah.
What's your favorite Godzilla?
Yeah, you got a favorite Godzilla?
You don't know. You live in a house where your dad watches and talks about Godzilla. You don't have a favorite.
Hey, I know what your favorite actually.
We have
your favorite
kitty. Why is there blue on the bottom?
What's that?
Where is there blue on the bottom of her?
My cat?
Yeah.
Oh goodness, why is there blue? Did she step on something?
He knows. Oh, the chalk.
Yes.
Said, I'm just teasing. There's so much great stuff out there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Elliot's here. Yeah. And Tippy's made some appearances in our shows, and she loves Elliot, as we call him, Squeaker Guy, Little Squeaker. So yeah. They're big fans. Now I got fur all over my shirt now. So yeah.
This is why I wore a different shirt before this.
Yeah. The fur would get all over the black.
I told my wife, I said, man, what if I get like mustard or something on the shirt? That's gonna just look bad.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to be on a live podcast with a ketchup or mustard stain on my Shin Godzilla shirt. Come on now.
So Willy's Wonderland is Nick Cage's
versus
okay.
It's very, I mean,
I don't know that one.
So yeah, I don't know if it's a remake, but yeah, I have watched Willy's Wonderland. It's kind of it's very graphic and gory. So but it's Nicolas Cage. I mean, he'll take anything he can get. So
I think I hired Nicolas Cage accidentally because he had some bills to pay.
Oh yeah.
Like for a production I had. You guys out there, you can call up Nicolas Cage's agent, and he'll be in your video or your podcast. Or
tell him to make another Gone in 60 Seconds too. Bring Eleanor back. Come on.
Oh man, yeah, goodness gracious. But anyways, we are wrapping up here. Thank you so much, Adrian, for being here, making the trip up here, enjoying the time with my family and enduring my children and all
okay. I have two of my own, so nothing's changed.
Yeah, well, we love having guests here and and grilling out and having dinner guests, seeing the house and things, and we're getting past that time of COVID when you didn't have visitors, everything was online, and unless you were texting or catching up with someone on Messenger, you were not interacting with people. So that's why I'm glad to have somebody in studio, and you're the first to be here in studio at Monster HQ.
Plan on coming back. I'll probably bring my wife and kids next time. So
yeah,
it'll have to be earlier than 6 for sure because
it's
got bedtime. So
I was gonna say we got a whole yard out there. They can hang around and just run around with the kids and run off some energy, and maybe they'll sleep on the long drive home.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, your oldest or your one, what's his name? Eli or?
Eli's my oldest boy, but Deborah's my oldest girl.
He is a talker for sure. My kid Jack and him would be fine together. They probably talk each other out,
Oh man, yeah. Thomas Lee, I'm glad you joined us closer to the end. You'll have to catch you will have to catch that on replay here on the Monster Report. So but shout out to Thomas and Adrian, Mike, everyone, Bobby Reynolds, everyone in the chat. Thank you so much.
Thank you
for being here. Almost dinner time wherever Thomas is.
California.
Well, that's why it's earlier. Yeah.
3 hours. Let's see. Yeah, it's
3 hours. 3 hours earlier. Yeah, I've got my shout out to my friend Everett out there in Tucson, Arizona, who, a couple of hours behind. Sometimes he's 2, sometimes he's 3 hours behind. Arizona's weird with their time thing. But again, everyone out there, if you have not had the chance to subscribe to this channel, we are less than 1,600. Can you believe that, Elliot? Less than 1,600 subscribers.
Come on, we can get to 2,000. Come on.
Well, to 100,000 subscribers.
Oh, 100. Oh, 16. Oh,
1,600 more to get to 100,000. Okay. We are so close.
Yeah, that's close. Come on now.
Yes, that silver plaque. It is just right there. It's a slow, slog to the top of that little mountain. We're here. So, we're already past dinner time.
Yeah, we already ate.
Yeah. With
you missed Thomas. Sorry.
We didn't save any leftovers for you. So next time, Thomas, you'll have to
take the flight out here. Okay.
Yeah. It's kind of warm here in Indiana.
No, it's not. It's chilly.
I
had to put a coat on.
I wasn't going to say that.
It's okay.
How else are we going to get him out here?
This is Indiana. This is, you know, 4 seasons in one day kind of situation.
Well, yeah, it's like my brother lives in Hawaii, and when he comes
nice.
back, he's reminded of how cold it gets where he was born, you know, in this area.
Yeah.
And then he's so tropical that it's like, oh my gosh, how do you guys live? And it's like, yeah, you did it too.
Comfortably.
Yes, thank you, Thomas. Yes, it is getting up there. Oh, there it is. It has been a blessing for these last 10 years plus to be on YouTube and to gain this following. And again, it's all because of you out there, the fans that have made this possible. And, you know, you could have subscribed, you could have liked, you could have whatever to Mr. Beast and all those other, you know, big time YouTubers and stuff. Yeah. You came here because you love the content we do.
Yep.
It's all family friendly, and we love what we love. We love collecting. We love music, movies, anything kaiju related. Of course, we also love anything monster related. So you're going to see Harryhausen, Gorgo. You're going to see American monsters. You're going to see Japanese and Korean monsters. I mean, all monsters of all kinds. They are welcome here on the Monster Report. But again, and last word, actually, do you have anything to shout out? Where can they follow you if they want to check out photos and things that you're sharing?
Okay. Yeah, so you can obviously on Facebook, we have the group called the Real Kaiju Collectors. Thomas Lee is an admin there. I'm a moderator. But yeah, we pretty much do theme weeks, you know, or theme days, I should say, you know, where you can post pictures and stuff. And it's a good safe space. You can talk about pretty much anything you want, obviously, if it's kaiju related. And then, you know, I'm on Instagram too, as well. You know, I share things. So pretty much if I get new stuff, I'll either, you know, I'll post it on Instagram and the Facebook group and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I mean, yeah, just any kaiju groups out there, if you want to join, you know, it's no big deal. And, like I said, hopefully, there'll be more collaborations with me and Nick over here, you know, for the future.
Definitely.
I'm definitely down for it. So.
Absolutely, yeah. And then there's our comment from Mr. Everyone, Christopher Calavero. Everyone knows him. Go check out Adrian's Waffle. How much more time do they got?
It's open till noon, 12 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow. That's if it's not filled by then. So thanks, Chris.
Yeah.
Try.
Yeah. Keep trying. Yeah.
For the Destroya X Plus 25 centimeter.
Yeah.
I tried to get Nick to buy it. He said no. So.
Whoa. I don't know. I can.
He had no room.
I can throw. I know. Yeah. I need more shelves. But yeah, I may just throw in for the waffle. You know, it's roll the dice, spin the wheel.
Yeah.
Take your chances.
Yep.
Yeah. Just like winning the lottery.
It's $5 a spot. So
yeah.
I think there's I don't know. I haven't checked my phone in the last hour. So.
Okay.
I think last time I checked, it was 33 spots were left. So yeah, go in there and fill it up.
All right. Again, thank you, Adrian. And thank you all out there for liking, subscribing, all those great YouTube things. Follow us on the Monster Report here on YouTube, of course, and on Facebook, Instagram, and on X. It's all the Monster Report, so you can find it out there. And, you know, spread the word, share this show, share the shows that we've got. Check out the monster trailers that we're producing, the box days that we're producing. All kinds of other cool video essays that we're doing. And of course, we got live broadcasts happening. Yep. Shout out to Rich Eso, Fresh Vinyl guy. He will be on the show here in May. I believe that date is coming up. It's May 18th, but it is coming up actually soon. So watch this channel and you'll see that. So for me, Dick Adam Poling, and for Adrian Serafin, this has been Monster Report live here on YouTube, and we will catch you next time.
See ya.
あれはゴジラ。